Hello and welcome to Diced Up. Nothing stays with you like a good scary movie. In this list, we will be looking at some of the best horrors you should watch at least once, making considerations like the scare factor, the quality of the villains and/or supernatural threats, as well as the film's originality. However, excluding movies that are overt comedies or thrillers. Did your favorite movies make the cut? Let me know in the comments. Let's get scared. Number 13. Antlers. In an isolated Oregon town, a middle school teacher and her sheriff brother become embroiled with her enigmatic student, whose dark secrets lead to terrifying encounters with an ancestral creature the student is harboring in his house. Antlers is a 2021 supernatural horror film directed by Scott Cooper and stars Kerry Russell, Jesse Plemons, Jeremy T. Thomas, Graham Greene, Scott Hayes, Rory Cochrane, and Amy Madigan.
No animal that I've ever seen.
Number 12. Candyman film series. An American supernatural horror slasher film series originating from the 1985 short story The Forbidden by Clive Barker, about the legend of the Candyman, the son of a slave murdered in the late 19th century. Its film adaptation, Candyman, directed by Bernard Rose in 1992, starred Tony Todd as the title character. Although the film initially underperformed at the American box office, it became a classic for sure. Two sequels, Farewell to the Flesh, 1995, and Day of the Dead, 1999, were released. A direct sequel to the original Candyman, directed by Nia DaCosta and produced by Jordan Peele, was released on August 27, 2021. Number 11. Halloween franchise. Halloween consists of 12 films. The film primarily focuses on Michael Myers, who was committed to a sanitarium as a child for the murder of his sister. 15 years later, he escapes to stalk and kill people. Michael's killings occur on the holiday of Halloween, on which all of the films primarily take place. The original Halloween, released in 1978, was written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, and directed by Carpenter. Inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho and Bob Clark's Black Christmas, which is known to have inspired a long line of slasher films. 11 films have followed since 1978 original was released. Michael Myers is the antagonist in all of the films except for Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, a story with no direct connection to any other film in the series. In 2007, writer-director Rob Zombie created a remake of the 1978 film. A sequel to the 2007 film was released 2 years later. A direct sequel to the original film, which ignores all previous sequels, was released in 2018. The sequel to the 2018 film, Halloween Kills, was released in 2021 with the final sequel Halloween Ends, scheduled for release on October 14, 2022. Number 10. Paranormal Activity. Soon after moving into a suburban tract home, Katie Featherston and Micah Sloat become increasingly disturbed by what appears to be a supernatural presence. Hoping to capture evidence of it on film, they set up video cameras in the house, but are not prepared for the terrifying events that follow. This American supernatural horror film was produced, written, directed, photographed, and edited by Oren Pili. A parallel sequel and prequel, Paranormal Activity 2, and a Japanese-language sequel, Tokyo Night, were both released in 2010. Paranormal Activity 3 in 2011. Fourth in 2012. The fifth in 2014. The sixth installment, The Ghost Dimension, in 2015. While a seventh film, Next of Kin, was released in 2021. Number 9. Child's Play franchise. The films mainly focus on Chucky, voiced by Brad Dourif in the original films and television series, and Mark Hamill in the reboot, a notorious serial killer who frequently escapes death by performing a voodoo ritual to transfer his soul into a good guy doll. The original film, Child's Play, was released on November 9, 1988. The film has spawned 6 sequels. The television series titled Chucky aired on October 12, 2021. With few controversies about crimes that have been associated with the Child's Play films. Number 8. Sinister. It stars Ethan Hawke as Ellison Oswald, a washed-up true crime writer who finds a box of Super 8 home movies in his new home, revealing that the murder he is currently researching is the work of a serial killer whose legacy dates back to the 1960s. The film received mostly positive reviews, with critics praising the atmosphere, visuals, and outstanding cast by Juliette Rylance, Fred Thompson, James Ranson, Claire Foley, and Michael Hall D'Addario. Sinister was inspired by a nightmare Kajal had after watching the 2002 film The Ring. Which brings us to our number 7. The Ring. Receiving mostly positive reviews, The Ring is a 2002 American supernatural horror film directed by Gore Verbinski from a screenplay by Aaron Kruger. Starring Naomi Watts, Martin Henderson, David Dorfman, Brian Cox, and Davey Chase. It is a remake of Hideo Nakata's 1998 Japanese horror film with the same name, based on Koji Suzuki's 1991 eponymous novel. Watts portrays a journalist who investigates a cursed videotape that seemingly kills the viewer 7 days after watching. Number 6. Jeepers Creepers film series. Plenty of horror movies have been inspired by actual events over the years, from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre to Child's Play. Dennis Depew was a real-life killer that inspired the horror movie Jeepers Creepers. The Jeepers Creepers film series consists of American horror movies based on characters created by Victor Salva. The antagonist in each of these films is the Creeper, a demonic serial killer played by Jonathan Breck. The first film, starring Gina Phillips and Justin Long, was a commercial success at the box office in 2001, earning a Saturn Award nomination for Best Horror Film. A fourth film, intended to be the first of a new trilogy with no involvement from Salva, is scheduled for release in 2022. Number 5. The Conjuring. With the movies being added to the franchise, it could be hard to keep track, but I got you. Spin-off The Conjuring verse did introduce origins for Annabelle the demonic doll, Valak the accursed nun, the weeping woman known as La Llorona, and more. The story of The Conjuring verse stretches back to 1950s Romania and continues onward into the 1980s, each story intertwining with another. So if you're looking to catch up either for the first time or just as a refresher, it could be a bit daunting to dive right in. This 2013 American supernatural horror film, directed by James Wan and written by Chad Hayes and Kerry W. Hayes, centering on the alleged real-life exploits of Ed and Lorraine Warren, a married couple who investigated paranormal events. Number 4. It film series. If you are a horror fan, you probably have heard of it. The series consists of 2 films and is the second adaptation of the original novel by Stephen King. The first installment was released in 2017. The franchise centers around a group of 7 children living in Derry, Maine, who are terrorized by an eponymous being with its terrifying form that will give you chills. This being returns to haunt the children every 27 years and can take any form but its favorite. Pennywise the Dancing Clown. The second installment follows the group 27 years after the events of the first installment. Number 3. Wrong Turn film series. Although it's a matter of personal opinion when it comes to movie ranking online, there is no doubt Wrong Turn is one of the best horror films to ever hit the screens. An American horror film series created by Alan B. McElroy. The series consists of 7 slasher films, 6 sharing the same continuity and 1 reboot film. Three Finger is the main antagonist in the film series Wrong Turn. He's one of the mutants in the series, and the only one who appears in all 6 movies. He belongs to the trio of original cannibalistic brothers, including Sawtooth and One Eye. Number 2. Get Out. Chris, an African-American man, decides to visit his Caucasian girlfriend's parents during a weekend getaway. Although they seem normal at first, he is not prepared to experience the horrors ahead. This American horror film was written, co-produced, and directed by Jordan Peele in his directorial debut, and was a masterpiece. It stars Daniel Kaluuya, Allison Williams, Bradley Whitford, Caleb Landry Jones, Stephen Root, and Catherine Keener. Here are some honorable mentions you should also check out. Make sure you vote for your best movies in the comments section. Saw, Eden Lake, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Scream. Number 1. Hereditary film. A deeply disturbing psychological horror film written and directed by Ari Aster in his directorial debut. It stars Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, Millie Shapiro, and Gabriel Byrne as the members of a family haunted by a mysterious presence after the death of their secretive grandmother. A slow burn horror that builds up to a whammy of a final act. Easily one of the greatest horror movies ever made. Toni Collette delivers one of the finest, most committed performance, while it maintains a sense of realism on a human scale that's often lacking in the genre. If you think about it, that could happen to anyone. That's what makes it so scary. Thank you so much for watching the video, really appreciate it guys, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and get diced up. Take care and see you in the next one.
Now you're the one who's afraid.